Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Perdue with the Coprolites podcast. We have been having some trouble getting all of our staff together to do a podcast, but I'm David, and we have Marty here,
Hello.
and we wanted to do another movie review. Today, our movie we decided to look at was Rogue, a horror film about a giant crocodile. I guess I could start off since I haven't actually seen it before.
Yeah.
Alright. It's already recording, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to start things off, Rogue is, as we said, it's a horror film taking place in Australia, and the main characters are a bunch of tourists who decided to go on one of those little boat rides where you feed crocodiles. And as you could probably imagine, that goes terribly wrong. And I actually really liked this movie. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I don't know, I was expecting it to be kind of decent, maybe like sci-fi,
Like
sci-fi
Dino Croc kind of thing.
Yeah, like I thought it was going to be like a good B movie kind of thing, but no, it was actually a pretty solid movie. I actually wouldn't have minded seeing something like this in theaters. That would have been cool.
Yeah, I agree. It was a really good monster film, especially from this decade. There hasn't really been that many really awesome, well-written, with good characters, monster movies around. It's mainly just sci-fi B movies. And
Yeah.
it was really refreshing to see this because a lot of people don't really get giant reptiles right.
Yeah, and at the same time, a lot of people just don't get the appeal of movies like that anyway. It's like, why do you want to watch a movie about alligators eating people? It's like, why not? It's like
Yeah, it just comes down to taste. I mean, if it's done right and portrayed realistically, people will like it.
I think they did a really good job with this because, like, first of all, the croc itself, maybe a tad over aggressive, but if it wasn't, there'd be no movie. So it
Right.
had to be by default. But the way they handled it was actually pretty realistic, I'd say. I'm not sure about the whole crocodile killing prey and then storing it in some location. I think I've heard of alligators doing that because I know they grab their prey and they drown it, and I guess they kind of let it sink to the bottom and they eat it underwater.
Yeah, I swore I have heard that somewhere. I'm not sure if it's crocodiles, but like you said, it might be alligators. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, because it might be crocodiles too, especially since we're dealing with saltwater crocodile here, and the
Right.
environment it's in, it's less likely to be dragging its prey onto land. But it's whatever. That's just a technicality, I guess.
It
Um,
just adds to the plot.
yeah, it kind of reminds me of the host when
Oh yeah.
when the creature had this little stash and the character. Actually, damn. Now I think about it, it's almost like a. I don't want to say it's ripping off the host, but I'm pretty sure there's a scene similar to that in the host where the main character goes to the beast lair to get someone that he cares about, and it turns out they're still alive.
Yeah,
That's a trope that's used a lot, though.
it is. So, I
I mean, because
mean, it wasn't totally original with the host.
yeah,
And I don't know when the host came out. I think it was a year before this. So I mean, it's not really that big of a deal.
um, yeah, probably a year. I'm not sure how old Rogue is. Um, how about we put a little bit of a structure on this and we talk about the characters and then
I really wanted to talk about the characters.
off the top, let's start off with our hero, Batman. I don't think we
Yeah.
ever actually heard his name. I don't know what his real name was. I just keep calling him wannabe Batman.
Yeah, I'm not really satisfied with this main character. He really didn't do much, and whenever he spoke, he just did really bad jokes, and I really just didn't care for him.
Yeah, he was like a try-hard cool guy. That's why I called him Batman. He was just like Batman. He's like,
Yeah.
shut up.
Oh yeah.
He I
I
felt like he was a really forced character. He kind of no, actually no. He was just a really forced character. He was like that sort of
he
hero
really
role.
was. He really
And
was.
and And actually, his character arc didn't make sense because in the beginning of the film, he's there just to go on the boat and just write about something stupid, like he was saying. And then now, once all this crocodile shit's going on, he had that character personality that would make you think he would just leave the group, run off, and probably end up getting killed. He had that kind of an archetypal character. Then he all of a sudden did a 180 and decided he came up with the idea to hold the crocodile down with a hook. Okay, cool. That could have been self-serving because he wants to get out alive too. But it's when he goes back for the girl, that's where he has that change. And I thought it feels pretty inappropriate now that I think about it. The way they set up and established his character, there was no reason for him to actually go after her like he did because it's like first of all she should have actually been dead, but we're not going to get the character shields until later. But
oh God.
for him to actually have gone to the length he did, it felt out of his character.
Yeah, I completely agree. There was nothing there suggesting that he had a strong romantic relationship with this woman.
Well, even then, it's like beyond the romantic side of it. It's like
yeah,
seemed like he had like that kind of a morality, like
yeah.
he seemed like he didn't give a shit, and it's like now all of a sudden it's like, oh well, she was kind of hot. I gotta save her, even though this crocodile is going to kill me if I don't do this right.
Yeah, there's nothing there that suggests he was that kind of a suicidal hero or something.
Yeah, like if it was Goober doing that shit, now that
Goober, I could totally see Goober doing that.
But it's like they don't want to see some 40-year-old hero guy. Why not? People that's something real in real life.
Yeah.
And plus, he would have had a better chance fending off the crocodile because he has more mass. The other guy was like getting thrown around and shit because he's a light dude. He was pretty skinny, not very big, strong guy taking on this fucking dinosaur-looking crocodile. It's like, if that was Goober, I think that would have been a much cooler scene.
I totally agree. It just would have fit.
It would have felt so much more real.
Yeah, there was nothing there suggesting that he was that kind of a character, and that's the one huge gripe I have with this film. Other than that, I really liked it.
Yeah, because let's talk about Goober now that we're mentioning him.
I agree.
We need to establish our code for the audience. Okay, Batman, he's the main character with the white shirt and the glasses. He's like the wannabe cool guy. Goober, he is the guy with the black hat and the glasses, who's being the actual hero.
He's the one in the beginning who poured the ashes into the river.
Yes, and that was really good character development from the start. Like, he didn't even say anything while he was doing that. He's just pouring the ashes, and from the get-go, we already have an idea of some of his backstory.
Exactly.
And it's
that
like
was
they didn't
good writing.
They didn't go into any detail really fleshing out who he was, but we just know that he's lost somebody. And he was like, I guess he went to that particular river. Maybe it was some kind of memory he shared with them of that area, but that was where he decided to pour the ashes. Cool. That says a lot about him from the start. It's funny because all the minor characters got really good development. We had the family with the lady and her daughter. Then we had and the asshole dad. And then we had the two couple, John Wayne and Glasses Girl. Like everyone had so much personality, and they're all pretty much sub characters. And then it's like the two main characters, the fucking Batman and the tour guide bitch. They were like so generic, and it actually really pisses me off, like looking back at the film, because it's like they had so much like individual characterization. All the other guys really stood out, because when I looked at Goober at first, like the way the actor they chose and how they just designed his costume, he looked like Eddie from the Lost World, a doughy guy. Like, I was thinking he was just gonna get just fucking murked like quickly, but it turns out he was actually the strongest character there. I didn't expect that. I like that. I wish they would have centered more on him. It's like, I feel like Batman and tour guide bitch, it's like they were just there to be like those sort of like main character archetypes. They had to be young, good looking, had to be fit.
It's really unfortunate too, because they had such rich characters from the other cast members, and then they have these two generic ones as the main ones, and it's like, I really don't care about them. I really wish we centered more on the other characters, because I care more about them. and they're more realistic.
They really were. The reactions to the situation felt real the whole time, especially since during the film, whenever the tour guide bitch would be telling them about... I need to stop saying bitch. The tour guide girl would be telling them... I just realized that. But this is going to be... stupid. Okay, the tour guide girl was saying... so it was giving them descriptions of how powerful and dangerous the crocodiles are. And the whole time, people on the boat looked dissuaded by that. That was not reassuring to them. That was making them uneasy, especially when she was adding things like, oh yeah, sometimes they'll come right next to you. We don't want that. And they felt like real people in that instance, because it's like when you're on a boat out there with crocodiles in the water, that is not what you want to hear.
No, it's not.
like all those facts about how strong they are, that's what they tell you after you're back on land and comfy and safe.
Yeah.
Like, that was just... I mean, I guess you could call it good writing because it's like a really bad company that does tours. I'm pretty sure they're going to get sued after that. But it's just like...
Yeah.
It's like... I mean, I guess you can't really blame the writers per se, because it's like, well, if they didn't say that, how are we going to properly foreshadow this crocodile's ferocity? You know, it's just like...
Right. I mean...
designed to build it up. But still, it's just like looking at it in a more practical sense. It's like that just doesn't make sense for them to be saying that. But I really like the reactions of the people, so it's a plus inside a minus, pretty much, because they handled the characters pretty well. I would say the acting was actually pretty good.
Yeah, for the most part, the acting was really well done, and the reactions all felt real. We should probably mention that there was a very really badly written character shielding here, where the tour guide bitch she gets plowed head first straight from the crocodile, and you could see him doing the death roll and shit. And then we find out she's alive later. No,
yeah.
That did not look like she survived that shit. Come on. This thing's 30 feet long. Powerful as shit. And you're telling... Yeah, the amount of force that it probably took to ram himself into her like that. No, I'm sorry. She did not live from that.
Yeah, the way they had the blood in the water too, they sort of feigned her death, but it's like they should have just kept her dead, because trying to believe that she survived that puts a serious hole in the movie's foundation, because it took all that realistic credibility it was building up the whole time with the actually pretty well written characters, and then just throwing it out the window to save this generic main character.
Yeah, they just should have kept her dead.
That was not a good call on their part. It almost makes me feel like it used to be they kept her dead, but then they rewrote the script and brought her back. But looking at how it played out in the footage, it doesn't look like they edited that into it. It looked like it was supposed to be that way. So I guess that's just part of the story. She gets lucky. I don't know why.
I mean...
She wasn't even a very developed character either. Because it's like she was like, the way they designed her, she was expendable, because it's like the only thing you get to really see about her personality is that she just didn't like that asshole guy, whatever his name was. He was hitting on her, and she's like, come on, I'm at my job. That's like the most she did.
Yeah.
That's the only personable thing you really get out of her.
Although, if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have that badass cave sequence.
Yeah.
And did I mention the CGI yet? The CGI was actually really damn good.
Yeah, you didn't mention the CGI yet. The computer graphics are actually really nice. I'm still more on the whole, practical effects are cooler, but it's like that CGI was very well done, and it did its job very appropriately for the dark lighting that they had in the scene. It was able to camouflage the model to where it's like it could hide in darkness, and you can, like, the way they handled the highlights to show off its contour was actually really nicely done. It was subtle, but you could tell it was a very, very descript model.
Yeah.
And it looked really good in motion. Its fluidity was very good.
It was. It had great animation.
Yeah, definitely good CG. The worst thing ever in these kinds of films are when they have bad CG on a creature. But honestly, like I would, I mean, if I was to rate this movie, I would honestly give it. I would give it at least a 4 out of 5. I would give it like a solid 4 because the character shielding and the main character, like the issues with those two main characters, really fuck up the film, but not to the point where it's bad. I would give it a 4.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I'd give it a 4 as well.
Because it's like you can't just the way they brought the girl back after she got
Yeah,
death.
that character shielding was just a little too much for me.
Yeah,
It just wasn't realistic.
yeah, because the way the camera angle was, you literally see it grab her.
Well,
Like the whole film, it's like the crocodile. Like you see its jaws, but you don't see it actually like grab them. Like well, except for what's his face, Dodson, the guy in the yellow shirt. They showed us that he got
oh
murdered.
man,
But
I don't want to spoil that for anybody. That's too cool of a death.
yeah, they'll if they haven't already seen it, they'll see it.
I mean, if they replaced Batman with Goober from the very ending, I think it would make a little bit more sense. But still, the character shielding, she should have died.
Dude, when you really think about it, though, if they switched Goober with Batman, it would have made perfect sense because
Exactly.
Batman would have ran off. Like, sure, he would have taken the other guys with him. Probably would have been Goober, like, hey, get everybody to safety. I'm gonna find what's her face. I could see that actually making sense because Batman's trying to save his own ass, and since everyone else is on land, he's like, whatever, you guys, come on, let's go. He could lead that group. And then Goober
Exactly.
would be like, I'm gonna go find the fucking thing. I said fucking. I'm gonna go find the girl and stuff and hang out with her dog. I
It,
will admit the girls did get a little bit of characterization when it was like, hey, why don't we don't have bait. Let's use your dog. And she was like, can't use the dog. That was like I take it back. That was the most personalization she got, but it's still.
she just wasn't very well developed.
Yeah, like for a main character, she was very underdeveloped.
Oh yeah.
Because like even the family characters, they were actually pretty. Like they didn't have like a lot of development per se, but the way they were utilized and interacted with each other, they all had very strong dynamics within the group that made them feel so solid and real. I would say Goober had definitely the most development, and then all the other characters together were developed. Individually, kind of weak, but as a group, there was a very powerful dynamic that they achieved. It's just Batman was a little lacking and then confusing when he switched archetypes like that to become a hero out of nowhere. And then the tour guide girl with her terrible character shielding.
God, that was so horrible. If they didn't have that, I would rate it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, because I mean, to talk about the good parts, the tone of the movie is very powerful.
Oh yes.
Like they were on a little tidal flat or whatever, and the water kept rising I don't know if
It's
the
just the
movie
sense
takes
of
place.
urgency just kept growing and growing.
Yes, that was very good. The tension is very high. Especially, I love in the scene where Batman's fighting the crocodile, and it actually grabs his hand, and like it looked like it crushed his fingers. I couldn't tell if they came
Yeah.
off,
Yeah,
because it
they
looked like he
did.
still had them when he was holding himself. But the fact that that actually happened to him, I thought was really cool. I didn't expect it to happen like that because he's a main character. So it's funny how it's like the character shield doesn't necessarily apply to the main role, but the female protagonist got the character shield to a much greater extent than he did because he was up against a rock when the crocodile was trying to grab him in its final attack. But it's like you could kind of believe that it did that, like it the crocodile couldn't get a hold of him up against a rock because in order to do so that stick would go further and further through its skull. So okay, we could take that, but the girl, that's all.
She got skull fucked. There's no way.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, that's basically it. We really like this movie. We rated a solid 4 out of 5. Just the character shielding and just the dull main characters are basically our only complaints.
yeah, very, very solid movie. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend checking it out.
Agreed.
All right. Well, this is David,
This is Marty.
and we are the Coprolites. Hopefully, you found our video enjoyable.
I sure hope so, because we took this shit real seriously.
uh,
I guess we'll see you later.